spins a web any size, catches thieves just like flies. Look out, here comes the Spider-Man.
Everyone's favorite friendly neighborhood Spider-Man has been swinging across the big screens for years. It's our job to decide who did it best.
First up, we have Tobey Maguire. He starred in Spider-Man, which was released in 2002 and made the most in the franchise with $403 million. This movie set the precedent for all other superhero movies at the time and showed how a comic book can be made into a very profitable and entertaining movie. He also starred in the sequel, Spider-Man 2, which was released in 2004 and made $373 million. This movie is considered one of the best superhero movies of all time and raised expectations for the final movie of the trilogy. The last installment of the series was Spider-Man 3, which was released in 2007 and made $336 million. This movie stopped all momentum that was built off of the previous movie, as it didn't meet expectations, and it became the laughingstock of the year. Here's an actual clip from the movie.
Next up is Andrew Garfield, who was only Spider-Man for 2 movies. The Amazing Spider-Man, which was released in 2012, made $262 million, was relatively well received, and hardcore fans of Spider-Man got to enjoy a more accurate portrayal of their favorite comic book hero. Then there was The Amazing Spider-Man 2, which was released in 2014 and only made $202 million because it made the exact same mistakes that Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man 3 did, and included too many villains and uninteresting plotlines.
Finally, we have Tom Holland, the most recent and current actor playing Spider-Man, who has starred in many movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, such as Captain America Civil War, Avengers Infinity War, and Avengers Endgame, but only has one solo movie, Spider-Man Homecoming. This was released in 2017 and made $334 million. Tom Holland was Stan Lee's favorite Spider-Man, and Lee had said that he is the perfect fit for the role. He will also be continuing his role as Spider-Man in his upcoming movie, Spider-Man Far From Home.
Now that we have our contestants, it's time to figure out which one of them is best. In order to do this, all 3 will be judged in 6 categories: humor, strength and fighting, loser status, science and gear, relationships, and of course, the suit. Humor. Spider-Man is known for his humor, even while fighting. He is always talking to himself, toying with his opponents, and just has an overall childlike personality. Not only does he joke around while he's Spider-Man, but Peter Parker, generally, with the exception of Spider-Man 3, has a good attitude about doing good for his city. Here are some examples of Spider-Man's classic quips from the 2018 video game Spider-Man.
Writing your memoirs? Don't forget the hyphen between Spider and Man.
Tobey Maguire. Tobey's version of Spider-Man is almost completely void of this aspect of humor. He has a more subtle humor as opposed to classic Spider-Man. While this doesn't necessarily make him a bad Spider-Man, it does leave the viewer with a sense that something is missing from the character that they love.
Slide! Up and away, Web! Shazam! Go! Go! Go, Web, go!
Andrew Garfield. Andrew Garfield came in swinging with his version of Spider-Man that was completely different from Tobey Maguire's. His light sense of humor is very similar to what you would expect from Spider-Man.
Just let me go.
Is that a knife? Is that a real knife?
Yes, it's a real knife.
My weakness, it's small knives.
Just let me go.
Anything but knives!
Oh, it's so simple. That was cool.
What the hell is this?
Webbing that I developed myself. I don't think you really want to know.
Come on, let me go!
What's it? Knock it off, man!
The downside is that he gets a little carried away with it sometimes and doesn't really pay attention to what's at risk while joking around.
Alright, that's enough. Mike, Big John?
Tom Holland. After the failure of Andrew Garfield's movies and the agreement between Sony and Marvel, they needed to find a new actor to revitalize the hero. Tom Holland was chosen for the role and was welcomed as the new Spider-Man. His take on the classic hero is younger, not very experienced at all, has a childlike sense of amazement, and his lightheartedness and humor made him a quick fan favorite.
Throw it at him. He's big now. I gotta go. Hang on.
Although he always tries to keep it light and funny, he knows when to get serious and fight in order to save people.
On the road!
And the winner of the humor category is Tom Holland. Tobey was almost completely lacking in comedy, so he is out of the running. Andrew gave Tom a good run for his money, but Tom had better timing with his jokes and never endangered the lives of others.
Strength and fighting. After being bitten by the radioactive spider, Peter Parker is imbued with super strength and spider-like reflexes and senses. Peter uses these abilities to transform himself from high school loser into the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. We will determine which version of these three Spider-Men, based on feats from their movies, are the strongest. Tobey Maguire. Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man faces and defeats villains such as the Green Goblin, Doc Ock, Venom, and Sandman. These are all pretty impressive by themselves, but his greatest feat of strength comes from his second movie, Spider-Man 2. In that film, he brings a train that is full of people and going full speed to a complete stop.
We're slowing down.
Andrew Garfield. Andrew's version of Spider-Man does not have many feats of strength. He defeated villains like Lizard, Electro, Rhino, and Green Goblin, but other than that, there is nothing of note. Tom Holland. In Tom's solo movie, Spider-Man Homecoming, he is in a building that completely collapses on top of him. He lived, but was stuck under a large rock from the debris. He was able to get himself free and defeat Vulture after sustaining these injuries. Tom's Spider-Man was also recruited by Tony Stark to help him in Captain America's Civil War, so he has even more experience fighting because he fought against some of the Avengers.
You have a metal arm? That is awesome, dude. You have the right to remain silent.
He also teamed up with the Avengers to stop Thanos. Although they didn't win that fight, Spider-Man got a few good licks in before the snap.
Start? I don't feel so good.
And the winner of the strength category is Tom Holland. Andrew didn't have any outstanding feats of strength. Tobey holding back that train showed how he was very strong, but he could never use this strength while fighting. Tom, on the other hand, landed hard-hitting blows on Thanos himself. Tom was able to have strength and use it.
Peter Parker is a loser. A big part about Spider-Man is his dual life between fighting crime as a superhero and plain old Peter Parker. All of his classmates are supposed to think of him as a loser and outcast with nothing special about him. Little do they know, he is a bad guy fighting machine. Tobey Maguire. Tobey Maguire fits this role very well. He is picked on and bullied at school by Flash and looked at as a freak by all of his peers. Whenever he does something spider-like, people think of him as even more of a freak. He seems the least likely that he would be a superhero.
Think you're pretty funny, don't you, freak? My fist breaking your teeth, that's the accident.
Andrew Garfield. Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man is played very differently, and it seems that Peter was very heroic and brave even before getting bitten by the spider. At school, he stands up for a classmate that is being bullied.
Hey, Parker, come on!
Get a picture of this. Come on. Come on.
Take a picture of it.
Come on.
Don't eat it.
Take the picture, Parker.
Put him down, Flash.
Take a picture. Put him down, Eugene.
And also sneaks his way into the laboratory where he will eventually get bit.
Sorry.
Tom Holland. Tom is sort of in the middle. He gets picked on a lot by some of his classmates, especially Flash, who starts to chant Penis Parker to mock him at a party.
Penis Parker, what's up? So where's your pal Spider-Man? Let me guess, in Canada with your imaginary girlfriend? That's not Spider-Man. That's just Ned in a red shirt.
On the other hand, he is looked upon fondly by members of his Quiz Bowl team, and they worry when he misses important events because he is off fighting crime as Spider-Man. He even goes to homecoming with Liz, who is one of the most popular girls in the class.
I guess you already have a date to homecoming.
Actually, I'm so busy planning and I never really got around to that part, so.
You wanna go with me?
Yeah.
And the winner of the loser category is Tobey Maguire. Andrew had a sense of bravery and hero qualities before getting bit. And Tom had a group of decently close friends. So the obvious winner is Tobey.
Science and gear. Peter Parker should be very intelligent. He should be able to make gadgets to help him fight, have extensive knowledge in the science field, and be smart enough to craft plans of attack and learn while he fights. Tobey Maguire. Tobey's version of Spider-Man splits off for most of the comics and has an extra power that he got from the spider bite. He has organic webs and can shoot them naturally. He doesn't need anything in order to help him sling webs. That being said, he also never makes anything to help him fight and stays very much the same throughout the entire trilogy. The only thing he has going for him is that he was pretty smart in school and was recognized by Dr. Octavius.
Oh, no. No.
Andrew Garfield. Andrew Garfield's character went back to Spider-Man's roots and was very crafty. We see that even before he got his powers, he was very intelligent and used gadgets to make everyday life easier. He had an automatic door lock that he made for his room, allowing him to flick a switch to lock the door without having to get up. Then, after he got his spider powers, he created his own webs and wrist shooters to help him fight. Tom Holland. Tom's version of Spider-Man, while the youngest of the group, is actually the most intelligent. While making his own webs in class and not paying attention, his teacher called on him and he got it right.
Talking about Danish physicist Niels Bohr. But trust me, there's nothing boring about his discoveries regarding quantum theory.
We also know that he made his own web shooters and webs before Tony Stark gave him an upgraded suit. And the winner of the Science and Gear category is Andrew Garfield. Tobey didn't create a single piece of gear to help him fight, so he is out. Tom did make his own gear, but Andrew seemed to be more tech-savvy.
Relationships. Peter Parker is constantly supposed to be juggling his life as Spider-Man and Peter Parker. This puts heavy stress on all of his relationships, because he is constantly showing up late to things or completely ditching people in order to save others as Spider-Man. Tobey Maguire. Tobey Maguire's version of Spider-Man is always going back and forth with Mary Jane Watson, a classic Spider-Man romantic interest from the comics. They always try to date, but Peter feels a responsibility to protect people, so he can never be able to hold a stable romantic relationship with her. He even loses his powers in the second movie because of all of the stress he has with his relationship to his aunt and MJ. He also tries to maintain his friend from school, Harry Osborn. Unfortunately, his father Norman Osborn was the Green Goblin and dies while fighting Spider-Man, leading Harry to hate Spider-Man and making it a little awkward for Peter sometimes.
What have you done?
One day Spider-Man will pay. I swear on my father's grave, Spider-Man will pay.
Andrew Garfield. Andrew Garfield's version diverges from Tobey's and instead has the romantic partner of Gwen Stacy, who is also in the comics. The two actually work well together, even while trying to balance his life as Spider-Man, but because he is so close to her, she becomes in danger of Spider-Man's enemies. They find her, and she eventually dies because of him. Tom Holland. Tom's version is a bit different, and he is only a high school sophomore for the movie, so while romantic relationships are not his top priority, they still play a small role in his life. He goes to homecoming with Liz, whose father ends up being his opponent, the Vulture, but he keeps her safe by keeping her out of the fighting. He also maintains a relationship with his best friend Ned. Ned acts as Peter's guy in the chair. He does all the research and helps Peter fight crime. But because of their closeness, he also gets into some danger and unknowingly has an unstable explosive device on him.
Hey, can I be your guy in the chair? What? You know how there's a guy with a headset telling the other guy where to go? Like if you're stuck in a burning building, I could tell you where to go because there'd be screens around me and I could, silver.
And the winner of the relationship category is Tobey Maguire. Andrew and Tom always get the people around them in danger. Tobey was the only one that was hesitant to start a romantic relationship for the sole purpose of keeping them safe.
The suit. Spider-Man's attire changes pretty frequently, and he always has upgrades to improve his suits. Some are more powerful than others, while some just look better than others. But no matter what he is wearing, he should still be a powerful superhero.
Okay, it's not working out. I'm gonna need the suit back.
For how long?
Forever. Yeah, that's
No, please,
Let's have it.
You don't understand. This is all I have. I'm nothing without this suit.
If you're nothing without this suit, then you shouldn't have it, okay?
Tobey Maguire. Tobey started out in his red hoodie with a spider on it and eventually crafted his own suit. It looks like the classic Spider-Man suit you'd expect and has no extra features or abilities. Andrew Garfield. Garfield was similar to Tobey and started out in a hoodie and made his way up to making his own suit that looks like the classic one. His suit also had no features or abilities other than his web shooters, which he needs in order to use his webs. Tom Holland. Tom started out in a homemade suit made from a red hoodie and some goggles for protection and visibility. But instead of making his own new suit, he is given one. Not just by anyone, though. It was from genius billionaire Tony Stark, who packed the suit full of features and an artificial intelligence named Karen. There are different fighting modes and different web slingers to help him with combat, and even features that will help with other things besides fighting, like advanced interrogation mode.
Would you like me to activate the enhanced interrogation protocol?
Yeah.
That's not all, though. He was also given another suit from Tony, which was even better than the last. It had all the features of the previous one, along with some extras. It was made from nanotechnology, the same stuff Iron Man's suit is made of, so it provided extra protection from attacks and allowed him to hit even harder than he previously did. It also came with retractable arms that made him look even more like a spider, but they also helped with fighting and general mobility. And the winner of the suit category is Tom Holland. Both Tobey and Andrew had suits that did nothing besides look the part. Tom had multiple suits that had powers to help him fight.
Andrew Garfield only won the science and gear category, leaving him out of the running. Tobey Maguire won the relationship and loser categories, but Tom won the humor, strength, and suit categories. This makes Tom the top actor who played and is still playing Spider-Man. We took a survey and the results came back positive for Tom too. He won the popular vote as well as the categories.